Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Happy New Year, ladies and gentlemen, to each and every one of you for making this radio station, Talk Radio 77, in my opinion and the opinion of many others, the best radio station in the nation. 24/7 with great hosts, and you, ladies and gentlemen, the great callers that we have as we broadcast here live, no matter where you're listening to us across the nation, around the world, or who knows, maybe even out into the deep parts of the cosmos. Welcome to what I like to call Theater of the Mind. And for the next 2 hours, great guests, ladies and gentlemen, that bring to the forefront many topics that we certainly feel are important to share with you about many of the mysteries that are going on locally and out into the deep cosmos. Theater of the Mind, we like it, and hope you do too. And in tonight's adventure, we'll be discussing a book with a very good guest that you folks have told me through the many emails that we've had over the past 6 months or so. The title of the book, The Final Betrayal, A Cautionary Tale, How Technocracy Destroyed America, in the opinion of authors Patrick Wood and Courtney Turner. But ladies and gentlemen, once again, a happy new year to each and every one of you. With all the maybe downward news that we hear sometimes in our daily life, we certainly try to bring you some deep inspiration about what goes on beyond this particular planet, planet number 3. In case you're just waking up or if you're just joining us, we now know that the Earth is closest to the Sun, and that happens early on the 3rd of January at noontime, Eastern Standard Time, when the Earth, believe it or not, for our Northern Hemisphere dwellers, is some 91,403,637 miles away. And you may be scratching your head saying, why is it so cold if we're so close to the Sun? Answers to follow. Ladies and gentlemen, as we continue to talk about these particular subjects, it's very important to kind of center around what we're going to be speaking about for the next 2 hours with our special guest. The question we pose to the audience, what are your predictions on AI for 2026 and all these technologies? Maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but what you're about to hear, ladies and gentlemen, and I think is very much eye-opening and expanding our minds. The book entitled The Final Betrayal sounds something like this in its brief explanation. America has been treacherously betrayed by technocrats that have taken over Washington, D.C. The dark enlightenment wants to turn us into a monarchy. Tokenization is flipping us into an asset-based economic system where you will own nothing. And AI is shoving us into a digital gulag. Like it or not, you must face this beast, either to destroy it or to learn to live with it. The mysteries around us from science, humanity, technology, and even the mysteries in science of the CERN particle accelerator, something called the Higgs boson. What are these? And what are these technologies? How do they affect us? And as we continue to talk with our special guest, Patrick Wood, the dark enlightenment, the direct opposite as many people talk about MAGA, what does the future look like? And with that, no need for a deep introduction. He's been a friend of this particular show and the radio station. Patrick, good morning and Happy New Year to you, and thanks for staying up with us.
Thank you, Steve. Good to be with you on this special Friday, the first Friday of the year.
Absolutely, my friend, as we wish everybody health and happiness and prosperity in 2026, because a lot of times we hear news that we may not like, but again, not to put us in a dark mode in this particular 2-hour episode of what we call tonight's adventure, Theater of the Mind. Give us a brief analysis of your book with Courtney Turner. This is fascinating. I read it from cover to cover, and I think it explains so much that maybe people out there are yearning, and I hope they are, for information in your opinion. Please continue.
Exactly so. When President Trump was elected, just before he was elected, I would say, November 2nd last year, everybody had the idea that maybe, just maybe, we were going to have a different America, because Trump was going to make America great again. And, by and large, I was thinking, when I voted for him, by the way, I was thinking, well, if we could just dial it back a little bit, just get the government off our backs and deal with censorship and that sort of thing, free speech. Leave us alone. Just let us live our life.
Absolutely.
This is not what happened. What happened was these arch technocrats invaded Washington, D.C. like a plague. They turned the whole thing upside down. They didn't make it great again at all, but they've executed a traitorous plan to completely destroy our country, not help it get better. This is an absolute stunning betrayal of trust to the American public.
Well, you're a deep thinker, and again, as I mentioned to the audience, I've read this book, and I try to do my best to read these books and not just do as we would have in school, the Cliff Notes version. And sometimes it's impossible to read books that are very, very long and lengthy if you do have to look at schedules for guests. But ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to join the conversation, we hope you're out there in this beginning of the new year. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank our helmsman, Bill, who's navigating this incredible signal of 77 WABC out to you. Patrick, this is interesting. When did you start writing this? Because there's so much and so little time to get into all the subjects. When did you and Courtney Turner start to put this together? I find it fascinating.
Well, I've been writing about technocracy for years now, 15 years at least. And so I was kind of primed for this thing to partner with Courtney. She brings a certain level of expertise to me vis-a-vis technocracy as well. I wanted to get somebody younger in the mix as well. And we started this around June. And we were both just determined to make it a short book, get everything in that we really wanted to get in. And we want to make it, easy to read for people.
Yes.
Big type, lots of airspace between the lines. I don't want to bog anybody out, down. And so when we completed the book, November 4th was when it was published. It went to the printer, I should say. We didn't know exactly how it would be received. However, it's ignited a storm of protest across the country. Now people are understanding for probably the first time exactly what technocracy is doing to our country. I predicted this 10 years ago, that I didn't know how it would look exactly, but now we know exactly what it looks like in this business of this dark enlightenment philosophy, ideology. This will just stand your hair on end. It's incredible. It's incredible that somebody could get away with this right under our noses, and nobody's really paying attention.
And just so the audience doesn't think you and I are the architects of negativity, we certainly have at the end of this particular program, or anytime you want to interject as we go through the subject matter here and the different chapters, 11 chapters. We're not going to give away everything. We want people to, of course, read the book in detail. But it's interesting learning more about Patrick Wood, his website, technocracy.news. And you, ladies and gentlemen, can join our conversation, as we like to call this, Theater of the Mind, 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go back to the basics here, as if we're doing a boot camp with you on this particular subject, as you have a boot camp, and you can tell people about that later in the show. What's interesting here to me is, let's define the whole concept of technocracy. For somebody out there, let's say they're traveling. The holidays are over. They're returning home, or they're going somewhere. They're in their car, or they're listening to us, who knows where. Define the whole concept of technocracy, just in case people had never heard of this term before.
You bet. This was a term that was coined in the 1930s by scientists and engineers mostly from Columbia University, believe it or not. That's New York City, right? And what they wanted to do, these scientists and engineers, they thought that capitalism was dead because that was a Great Depression, and they thought they could do better. So they created a brand new economic system from scratch It was going to be based on resource management, not supply and demand like we understand today. And they wanted to create an energy script that would be like a universal basic income. They would just give money to people, and they would get work assignments, and then, whatever a society would, that basically would be a rent-to-own type of a society. Well, it kind of faded away for a while, but it came back with a vengeance in the late 60s and then the early 70s when it was picked up by Zbigniew Brzezinski and David Rockefeller. Brzezinski at that time was a member of the of Columbia University, the professor. There's a connection there for sure, but nevertheless, technocracy surfaced again. David Rockefeller saw it as an opportunity to accumulate all the resources of the world into his pocket. He's dead now, however. He won't enjoy the fruits of his labor.
I see.
It's very hot, I think, where he is right now. Just my opinion.
I can imagine that temperature is hotter than the Arizona sunset or Arizona.
Well, yeah, it's a dry heat. So
there you go.
Whatever. We don't want to belabor that point. But here's the point. As a resource-based economic system, it was not political at all. They wanted to capture all the resources of the world, and we saw this, for instance, in Agenda 21, the United Nations proposed or they created in 1992. We saw the creation of sustainable development, which is basically a resource-based economic system. And today, it's morphed into all of this nonsense with AI. That's the weapon of choice at this point of these technocrats that are running things in Washington, D.C. And let me just tell you how they explained themselves in 1937. They had a magazine back then. This is what they said. They said technocracy is the science of social engineering, the scientific operation of the entire social mechanism to produce and distribute goods and services to the entire population. For the first time in human history, it'll be done as a scientific, technical, engineering problem. There will be no place for politics, politicians, finance, or financiers. Technocracy will distribute by means of certificate of distribution available to every citizen from birth to death.
Wow!
And there you are. This is their official definition. And isn't it interesting? These scientists and engineers, they had a way of they can make any factory hum. They could build things. They could make things work. The gears and whatever electronics. But they knew that their machines, if you will, had to be operated by people who are notoriously stubborn. They like to fight. They like to argue. They like to ask for raises, etc. So they led with this concept of that technocracy is the science of social engineering. We see this all over the world at this point.
Yeah, it's very powerful stuff, Patrick. Exactly. The book we're talking about is The Final Betrayal, a cautionary tale, subtitled How Technocracy Destroyed America. We're with Patrick Wood, and you are, ladies and gentlemen, at 1-800-848-9222. The question that we asked at the beginning of the program, we'll continue to ask it throughout the entire 2 hours of this particular iteration of the Dr. Sky Experience. What are your predictions, ladies and gentlemen, for AI in 2026 and all these technologies, good, bad, or indifferent? Are we exaggerating? Is our guest giving us an exaggeration here that we don't want to hear the truth here as we move into a new year? Or, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, many things you'd like to hear about. I think this is a good opportunity in what we like to call theater of the mind. This is an interesting night, ladies and gentlemen, and an interesting morning. And by the way, I just want to mention to the audience out there, you can listen to many of the replays of not only this particular podcast, radio show, the Dr. Sky Experience, but what about all those other great hosts, 24/7, WABCRadio.com, and check out RedAppleAudioNetworks.com. An amazing year, ladies and gentlemen, to be talking about these subjects. Patrick, this is fascinating because when you're giving us the history of technocracy, it's amazing. I say this all the time here when we talk American exceptionalism on occasion, other than the science topics. How do you know what rights you lose if you never knew what rights you had? and obviously a wake-up call for so many. But let me also mention, before you continue, Patrick, that we do, ladies and gentlemen, have some very promising answers to how people can get involved in the fight against the technocracy that's happening right now. So there you go, Patrick. Quite interesting, don't you think?
I think so, exactly. So yes, we want to focus on mindset, and we want to focus on answers for people to get involved, for sure.
It's amazing. Yeah, so the book itself, I mean, they can get it obviously at technocracy.news, but so much more information than the book. I mean, you do this, I don't know how you find time, Patrick. I mean, this is more than a full-time occupation. It's not a job for you. It's an occupation, it's a love, and it's a passion. So we're going to get into so many of these different stories, but let's see, first of all, if we can actually go to some of the callers that are checking in right now. Let's say good morning, as he's been waiting for a while, and we say Happy New Year to Alexi in Queens. Good morning, Alexi. How are you? Happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year to you and your guest, Dr. Scott. I'm admitting capacity. I have the flu, and I am suffering like a dog. But,
I'm sorry, sir. We can hardly hear you, but I hope and pray to God that your flu is quickly exterminated. So if you can speak a little louder for the audience, I'm sure they're having a little hard time hearing you, too.
Is this a little better?
That is like 100,000% better. Go ahead, Alexi, and Happy New Year again.
All right. Here is the deal with this AI. If you go back to the 1940s into the 1950s, you had this sudden surge of research and development, Rand Corporation and all these other places. And you have private institutions, you have the genesis of Bell Laboratories and MIT and all this going crazy, striving to better the state of the art. The state of the art, yeah. Mm-hmm. Such came the transistor, then the integrated circuit eventually, and then the mass integrated circuit. And now the chips are so complicated, you need 200 people to understand what one chip does.
You are so right. Yeah.
Yeah. The danger here is that the AI movement with these are globalists. They are attempting to create a communist planet. You have China, you have 1 billion people who are allocated so many work units, so much income, so much this and that, like it or not. Sure. You destroy any possible form of self-achievement. This is like the country I escaped from. The same thing under the Soviet socialists. This. You have so much food coupon, you have so much money, and that's it. The doctor makes the same as the plumber. There is no prosperity. This is what's going to happen here. So what is probably happening in the next decade, if we don't get rescued by President Trump, we will have to either have a revolution or we're going to have to just submit. I think I would prefer the first choice, because this is nonsense that you are going to sublimate a whole Western culture into this.
We have to fight, and we got to stand strong, Alexi. Let me have Patrick jump in here, because we got a full board of callers. But hey, everybody's important. But you know what the problem is? The clock rules. So please continue, Patrick, with what Alexi's talking about.
This is a good point that he's bringing up. When the Soviet Union was in its heyday, it used certainly a form of authoritarianism, collectivism as well. And it was very ugly. It was very hard to get ahead at all. Once in a blue moon, you'd find somebody that have mercy on you and perhaps cut you some slack. But otherwise, nobody had any slack back then. Mm-hmm. With technocracy, this is a different animal at this point. Yes, it has resemblance to communism or socialism, but it's a step way beyond it at this point. In fact, Zbigniew Brzezinski, he pointed this out in his book that got David Rockefeller involved in the first place. His book was called Between Two Ages, America's Role in the Technotronic Era. He said in that book, essentially, I'll paraphrase, he said, Marxism is a necessary stepping stone to get to the technotronic era. So Marxism had a place and history to get us where we are today. But now this is going to be probably shed. The trappings of it will be shed, and the true nature of technocracy will come to the forefront. It's going to be uglier than communism was, unfortunately.
Yeah, because it has overt surveillance in every aspect. Alexa, you get the last word. We're running almost out of time here for this first half hour, but we always give our guests the opportunity to reply back. So go ahead.
Yes, I thank your guest for his clear explanations. The whole thing is, I think the younger generation does not have any, people under 30 have no perception of the danger of AI. They don't understand it. They just accept. The older folks like you and I and such, we know better. So what I think is culturally in the United States, I think there is going to be a tremendous friction when AI tries to complete itself and get fully implanted in our society. With the older generation, the younger, there are going to be many, many great conflicts. Maybe
you're right.
Civil disorder.
Let's hope not, Alexei. Again, Happy New Year to you and all the callers as we continue here. Thank you, Alexei, and again, Happy New Year to you and your family. Well, we go to Steve in Pennsylvania. He wants to talk about a meteor shower that will be happening. Steve, if you're with us, Happy New Year to you. How you doing there in Pennsylvania?
Happy New Year, Steve.
Hey, thank you very much.
Hey, Dr. Scott, I listen to you a lot on the weekends, and you're very intelligent and all that. And I called you before about when Venus and Jupiter were close to the moon because it was very pretty. It was like a month or so ago. But when you talk about AI, I think that could be a little bit harmful to a lot of jobs. I think we shouldn't depend on that to be the smartest thing because that might end up causing a lot of problems for a lot of people. But,
no, you're right, Steve. It's going to cause a heck of a lot of problems. But let me be very clear here. These are the opinions of our guest, and I don't want to put words in Patrick Wood's mouth, or obviously his co-author's not here, Courtney Taylor.
I do believe that you can get a lot of information, but it's what they're feeding. It's what real people are feeding into it and they can answer it quickly, but it'll cause a lot of people a lot of problems in the end, maybe, is what I'm thinking.
Well, let me say this in closing. You called about a meteor shower, and I know we're a little off subject, but it's always good to listen to people with the questions of the sky. So this weekend, this is what's happening, Steve. There's a meteor shower called the Quadrantids. Really strange name. It's from a constellation that existed a long time ago called Quadrans Miralis. If you were going to watch it, it'll take place tomorrow night, which is the 3rd into the 4th. Look to the northeast sky after midnight at the tail of the Big Dipper, but the moon will be full. We got a supermoon coming up. So if you had an opportunity to see any, I've watched this shower for 40 years, and I can tell you, folks, maybe you're out there in Radio Land, this is one of the most amazing showers. The problem in the Northern Hemisphere, it's so cold. So you don't want a moon in the sky, but Steve, not to put a damper on the whole thing, that's when it'll take place. It's probably not from a comet. It could be, as many people speculate, it could also be from a rubble pile of an asteroid. But that's what's happening. It's called the Quadrantids. If you look it up and Google it, we wish you well, and thank you, and Happy New Year, Steve. Thanks for your time. Patrick, why don't you respond back? He had kind of a multi-part analysis there and a comment.
Well, there's not much you can say. He's right. There's going to be big trouble for individual people. The labor market at this point is such in a peril of basically being taken over by AI. That's all. That's the only way you can say it. The loss of jobs are going to be horrific at some point, and it's already started. Many companies, and especially in the tech sector, are laying off people because of AI. These are high-level programmers, many of them. But on the other hand, you see AI coming into like fast food restaurants with robots, with robot kiosks, etc. People don't like them, but they have to use them because there's no way to make your order. You have to go up to the kiosk and punch the buttons. It'll speak to you. Would you like this would you like fries with your burger or whatever? But yeah, this is crazy stuff, and it's going to get worse over time, not better, unfortunately.
Well, it's interesting, folks, and Patrick, stay with us, of course. Our special guest, Patrick Wood, The Final Betrayal, his book with Courtney Turner. The Final Betrayal, A Cautionary Tale, How Technocracy Is Destroyed America. That's the full subtitle. Now, when we come back from the break, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to mention, we're a few minutes away from that. We have Michael in New Jersey who wants to disagree with Patrick Wood's technocracy analysis, and he wants to discuss that. But also, before we go to that hard break, stay on the line if you're still with us, Michael. Obviously, we welcome all kinds of callers here on this particular radio show. You can like it, you can disagree with us, but all we ask, right, Patrick, we say it every time, is give us the opportunity to have a conversation and dialogue with hopefully some critical thinking in there. You can disagree all you want with us, but let's do it so we're not attacking each other and yelling and screaming at each other, because we hear so much of that as we walk around in our world, don't you think, ladies and gentlemen? And trying to do something positive, for the new year. I think that's pretty important. So, Patrick, what I'd like to talk about with you also is in your book, this is fascinating to me, what the president's executive order, President Donald John Trump, 14158, which is all about Doge, and you're going to have a different analysis of what that was all about with Elon Musk. Many thought it was just to kind of weed out and thin out the government as a cost-saving effort, but you have a lot more to say about that when we come back here, ladies and gentlemen. Your calls at 1-800-848-9222. This is the Dr. Sky Experience. We're on Talk Radio 77 WABC. We'll be right back.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Predicting the future isn't magic. It's artificial intelligence. So says Professor and Dr. Dave Waters, one of the originators, ladies and gentlemen, of the science behind AI. At 31 minutes after the hour, we continue with our special guest, Patrick Wood, no stranger to the microphone here on WABC. His book, co-authored with Courtney Turner, The Final Betrayal, A Cautionary Tale, How Technocracy Destroyed America. An interesting story, ladies and gentlemen. But let's continue, Patrick, with the callers. We hopefully have Michael in New Jersey. Michael, Happy New Year. And basically what I'm getting from the engineers back at Ground Zero and our helmsman, you want to disagree with Patrick's technocracy analysis. Is that true?
Absolutely. First of all, let's start off with what he said about Trump is destroying this country. Trump is trying to save this country by deporting all of these illegals which work for below minimum wage, right? He's sending them back home so they have to hire Americans. Plus, because of his tariffs, Hyundai just announced they're building factories in the United States to avoid the tariffs. Now, as far as what he's talking about, automation, that's been going on for years. He's using all these crazy, nutty terminologies. It's basically progress. They bring in automated machines to do the labor. That's been going on since they got rid of elevator operators. This is going to continue. Progress is you can't stop progress. And then you're mentioning whatever Zionism is. Stalin was a Zionist. Xi Jinping is a Zionist. What the heck are you talking about? You're all over the place.
Let me have our special guest Patrick respond to you, Michael, and here we go. Go ahead, please.
Gee, I never heard that we said anything about Zionism. Did you, Steve?
I didn't hear that, but you go right ahead, Patrick.
I know. I don't know where this caller is coming from, but this is a serious charge that he's leveling against me. I've never said Zionism one time, and I won't, because that's not what I believe at all. So maybe you could clarify where you'd heard that from.
Go ahead, Michael. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, absolutely. You started off with, you said, a group of Zionists from Colombia. Well, I don't understand what you're talking about. People are communists. They're communists. What does one group have to do with another? If you're a communist, you could be anything. I'm saying that's how you started it off. Didn't you say a group of Zionists in Colombia? Right?
No,
yeah,
sir. No, sir. You're mistaken. You must have heard us wrong. I never said that.
Okay, let me end the conversation here because of the number of callers. But Michael, no, look, we just want to make sure that people understand that not everybody who calls has to agree with everybody that we have, but we want to do it, and you're doing fine. But you get the last word on this, Michael, so we can move forward. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Well, first of all, when he did say that Trump is trying to destroy this country, no way, shape, or form. Biden was destroying this country. Trump is doing his best to try to save it. Now, right now, I don't know if you've heard about it, in Sweden, they're having riots because they let in a group of Muslims who are basically beating the hell out of the cops. Now, Trump is trying to get rid of the problem, like what went on in Minnesota, where they stole $9 billion of taxpayer money, and Trump is trying to destroy this country. He's trying to get rid of the theft of the taxpayer money and put it where it can be used to help American citizens.
Michael, I agree with you, and I think what's happening here, let me just say this, as we open the microphones here to people who both agree or disagree, I can just tell you this much, ladies and gentlemen. I voted for Donald Trump. And I certainly am proud that I have, and I don't ask Patrick who he voted for, but I think in all due respect, to focus it, right, Patrick, you're trying to talk about what's been changed from what this particular executive order was, and we haven't even gotten to that yet, Michael. So stay tuned with us so he can further explain what he's going to talk about the Doge deception. These are not my words. This is what Patrick is going to talk about. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you, and thank you for calling in to the Dr. Sky Experience. We appreciate that. Let's continue on here. We say good morning to Mike. Happy New Year, Mike in northern New Jersey. You want to talk about what? Singularity, man and machine becoming one. Good morning to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sky and Patrick. I read a book several years ago called The Shallows, and in it they were talking about determinism versus utility. And determinism was where it was inevitable that as soon as we entered into the digital world, that it was going to take over. And the argument against it was, no, it's a utility, and we'll just use it for our betterment. And I think the utility people were misguided, and that the determinism people really were, the theory really was the one that is in play right now, where the digital world is just taking over and taking away our humanity. And so getting to the singularity, there are books out, The Coming Singularity, The Singularity is Here.
Ray Kurzweil. Ray Kurzweil. Mm-hmm. Right.
Exactly, Ray Kurzweil. And they actually have the mechanics already laid out where they're going to do this to us as humans to really remove the human spirit.
You said it so well. Mike, you're really saying it well. And I think, Patrick, tell more about this story to Mike and the audience, because you're trying to give us the big warning. You're like firing fireworks up, not on New Year's Eve, but you're sending this up 24/7 all day long. Please continue, because Mike brings up some very interesting possibilities of what could happen when that singularity is reached. And by the way, Mike, we haven't even gotten to tell you what we think, but more important, it's what Patrick thinks.
Well, the book that he brings up, The Shallows, was a very interesting book indeed, and it lays out the decisions before us. Will we be human in the end or not? Will we lose our humanity or not? At this point, there's lots of evidence to say, yes, this AI incursion, these technocrats executing AI all over the place, it's totally anti-human in the end. And the thing that we risk is basically the collapse of reality at some point. Millions of people are going to slip away from reality for a number of reasons, but chatbot bonding is one issue, big thing at this point. Psychiatrists are talking about AI psychosis. People are falling in love with their chat box. They're saying they're sentient. They're not, but they're saying this. This is a hyper reality condition that's coming, and people can't believe their eyes anymore, and they begin to lose touch with what's real and what's not. This is a very, very disturbing philosophical issue.
Mike, it's interesting you bring up singularity, and I don't know if the audience knows this, maybe you do, that the singularity, according to Ray Kurzweil, when he wrote that the singularity is nearer, he was originally proposing like 2045? Some say it could happen as early as 2029, or maybe, Mike, you get the last word. Maybe it's already here. What say you in closing?
Well, he wrote the book 25 years ago, and then he just put out the singularity is here now.
Right. He wrote The Age of Spiritual Machines. That was the first one. Right.
Oh, that's very interesting. And so, but just one more point, Dr. Sky and Patrick. What about Ted Kaczynski? Where does he fall into this?
Wow. I'm so glad you brought this up.
That's amazing.
I have Ted Kaczynski in the back of my mind forever, I'm sure. He was a killer for sure, but nevertheless, he had a whiff of what technology would do to mankind, and it drove him off the edge for sure at that point. But if you go back and read his manifesto, he left it for us to read. Anybody can find it on the internet. Just type in his name and you'll get it. You'll see he was talking about a lot of stuff that we're dealing with today.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing.
It really is. And I don't want to make him a saint. He's not.
No, not at all. But that's amazing. Well, that one came out of the blue, right, Patrick? That's interesting. Ted Kaczynski. I haven't heard his name mentioned in quite a while, and for many reasons. Mike, you get the last word because we got to move forward. Again, Happy New Year to you and your family, but please continue for the moment.
Just Happy New Year to you and all of our listening audience. Really, that's it, Dr. Scott.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comment on singularity. Folks, we'll continue here. Let's say this way. If we don't get to you in hour number 1 because of the overwhelming number of calls, and I say overwhelming in a good way, please stay on the line like Ted in North Carolina, Stu in Brooklyn, Teddy in Yonkers, Sandra in New Jersey. And again, ladies and gentlemen, as we move into the first hour, and then move into hour number 2, the contact number here, 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Patrick, I know we only have about 3 or 4 minutes before the next break, but can you start with all, due respect on this one, not to rush you. We'll do it more when we come back, too. Let's hear about the Doge deception that you're writing about here with what originally people thought from mainstream media, that this was just a simple thing of reducing government by laying off people or cutting the fat. Start off on that, because you got about 2 minutes before the break.
Wow, I see what I can do with this here.
And you can, I know.
Doge was a deception from the get-go. It was the idea was that Elon Musk was going to swoop in, take over this thing called the Department of Government Efficiency, root out waste and government contracts that need to be canceled, and get rid of a bunch of people, downsize the government, etc. And he was going to save the world. And in the meantime, he's going to save billions and billions of dollars, he said at the beginning. That never happened, by the way. But what happened, it turns out that he was never in charge of Doge at all. However, he suggested all the people that Doge should hire, along with Peter Thiel, but he was never in charge of the Doge. He was a special advisor to the president. He had no authority to do anything in government other than advise the government. So the lady we found that was actually in charge of Doge, she was basically executing the orders that came from the White House, but not necessarily from Elon Musk. So what happened is the data sets from all these agencies that Doge invaded, those data sets were transmitted into the cloud away from the computers that held them in the first place to be consumed or taken over by Peter Thiel's company called Palantir. That's the largest surveillance company in the world at this point.
Yes, you're right.
And this is what's happened. All of this data that was in different silos for good reason, by the way. You don't mix tax records with health records, for instance. That's never been the theory of government.
But Patrick, I hate to cut you short. It's always the rudest thing in radio, but again, not intentional. The clock rules.
I get
Ladies and gentlemen, we will get to as many of you, and we certainly appreciate all of you here on the Dr. Sky Experience. More with Patrick Wood, the final betrayal, in his opinion, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Dr. Sky Experience. We'll be right back.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Master AI before it masters you. Another quote from one of the originators of AI, Dr. Dave Waters. 47 minutes after the hour, we continue, ladies and gentlemen, with our special guest, Patrick Wood, co-authored with Courtney Turner, The Final Betrayal, A Cautionary Tale, How Technocracy Destroyed America. I know you didn't get to finish the Doge thing, but we have plenty of time there, Patrick. Let's continue to say hello to the callers. Let's say good morning to Ted in North Carolina. Happy New Year. You want to talk about an on and off switch with AI. How you doing? And there you go. Another one of those funny men calling in. And we do like the music, but Happy New Year. So we don't have Ted, I guess, after that musical interlude. There you go. Let's continue with Stu in Brooklyn. He wants to talk about what? AI is only part of the big picture of forces making an impact. Good morning to you, Stu. Happy New Year.
Good morning. Happy New Year, gentlemen. AI is part of the picture. You got quantum computing. You have fusion power that we're looking at in a few years. And my problem with you, and then just let me tell you what you're dealing with. I have a birthday coming up. I'll be 90 soon. I still have a long dentistry, candy slide rule in the shirt pocket, and a fountain pen. Anyhow, get to the point. George Santana, famous philosopher. And what did he say? He said, those who forget history are condemned to repeat it.
Yes.
That's what you guys are doing. You're repeating the history of all the people who think that technology is going to spell the end of humanity. We're all going to become slaves to some giant machine. Never happened. You know, one of the funniest things I ever saw is a bit about a guy who was introducing to a monk in the 14th century this marvelous new technology called the book. It was hysterical to watch this. But anyhow, the whole point of what I'm alluding to, the danger isn't from the progress that all this technology has brought. The danger is what it's always been. And that's some idiot like the one we just got as mayor, who I refer to as the new Muslim Huey Long. That's what he sounded like.
Okay.
The danger is someone taking advantage of the disruption that it causes for power. To propose that the government should intervene to prevent massive unemployment, and you can't have only certain people controlling the technology. You're always going to have that element of uncertainty and doubt. That's the human factor, and that ain't going to control. It's great. I
appreciate your wisdom. No, it's amazing. And I hope I'm able to be healthy at 90, but blessings to you, my friend. And, you know, it's an interesting concept you bring up here. I mean, it's like you're talking about the problems of history. People don't look at it, let's say. Why do we seemingly repeat it all the time? Patrick, I think Stu brings up some very, very interesting, what I call common sense points, don't you think?
Yeah, I do. I do, as a matter of fact. And history is full of cycles, for sure. This cycle, at this point, is more extreme because there's more potent weapons like AI pointed at us rather than just guns or bullets or whatever, bows and arrows, etc. So the stakes are higher today, but it's like a poker game, I guess. When you get to the end of your stint, you have to go all in at some point. we're at that point right now. I think that we'll see, looking backwards, that we're reaching that point of inflection where we have to say we're going to go all in on this hand and deal with it for once and for all.
You know, that's interesting, Patrick. But Stu, on a very human side of the equation, I'd love to have a beer someday with you. My mother was born in Flatbush in Brooklyn, and you bring up what I love about common sense here. And, you know, I don't know. I'm a little against some of this crazy technology, too, that I just like to write checks. I know people may laugh at me, but I do it, and people go and they look strange at me. But enough. Maybe we don't need some of this technology. But, Stu, thank you for being with us. God bless you, my friend. Happy New Year, buddy. There you go. Well, let's continue. Let's go to Teddy in Yonkers. Good morning, Teddy. You're on with Patrick Wood. Happy New Year to you and your family. What say you?
Good morning, Dr. Sky and your guest. Dr. Sky, I want to first say you are one of the most intelligent individuals I have heard on the radio. You're articulate, you're personable, and you're just well-founded, and I love listening to you.
God bless you. I thank you, and I don't want to go overly gushing on what you just said, but one of the things I try to do, Teddy, and I thank you for saying that, it's much appreciated, it's that I like to let people have their say, too, on this. It's not, we don't have to always yell and scream at each other, and if somebody else has a show, not necessarily here on this great station, but whatever, I just like to do it in the form of giving people a chance to kind of like a town square, don't you think?
I understand I agree with you totally. Mm-hmm. I don't have to always agree with the people's viewpoints, but I consider myself, not because I'm a retired math teacher and I work on Sudokus and math problems at nighttime, 7 days a week, I really keep my mind going. I'm 76. I have arthritis. I wish AI can do something for the arthritis.
Maybe,
but I continue to walk every day, and I do leg exercises in the bed and on the chair, and I do squats. I try to use common sense when I do it. But I'd like to say this about our president. I understand that he has done certain good things, yes. And I understand, and I didn't know that when Biden was elected, I did vote for him, but he wasn't mentally out of it when he won the election. But in the last 2 years, he deteriorated. My sister developed dementia. She's 75.
God bless. That's horrible.
Yeah. I know. Things happen. He slowed down, and he wasn't effective. We saw that in the debate. But let me just say this, Dr. Sky, because I don't want to take up a lot of your time.
No, go ahead. You have good points. Go ahead.
Mr. Trump, I don't want to call him President Trump. I know Sandra is on the line, and she is a big protege, and she loves Trump. Mm-hmm. But dealing with Putin, what Trump has done in Gaza, he told Netanyahu he had leverage with Netanyahu, and he had leverage with the people in Hamas. And he's showing all leverage against Zelensky, but Dr. Sky, he has shown no leverage, regardless of what people say, against Putin. And Dr. Sky, I've been reading a lot of intelligence articles. Mm-hmm. He has no intention, Putin. And you know where I'm going to come from. He has no intention of giving up Ukraine. He doesn't even believe Ukraine exists. He wants all of Ukraine, and he wants parts of Europe. And the way Trump treats him like kid gloves, and the way he treats Zelensky is outrageous. And that will be his legacy. Will go to you know what because of Putin.
Teddy, I love you like a brother, and not only because you gave me some nice compliments, but I understand the world situation is not very, very calm. And I just hope and pray to God that everything in 2026 will be better. But I don't know. Patrick, you want to jump in on this? But Teddy, thank you for your comments here on this particular platform.
I have some opinions on what's happening geopolitically. They're not pertinent to our discussion about technocracy necessarily. But however, let me say that what's happened, the warfare that's being fought in Ukraine is full of experiments on using technology and technocracy in particular, and you see it all over the place. It's been used in Gaza as well. Why is Trump treating Putin with kid gloves? Who knows? I mean, we just don't know. But it disturbs a lot of people. I'll have to say that. And by the way, he's making a grab again for Greenland. Go figure. He thinks Greenland should be part of America, and it's never been historically. But he's asserting his authority now to go after Greenland again and rip it away from Denmark. So there you go.
Well, folks, this may come as a shock to some people. We don't always even agree with some of our guests, and I love Patrick, and he and I know each other for years. I may say that I think the media made a bigger hype about Greenland, and I think the president understands this. It comes across as an emotional knee-jerk reaction. He knows he's not going to conquer Greenland. I mean, it would be great for the Space Force to have bases there. We already have something there, but that's a whole other subject. But I still love you, Patrick. You know that.
Of course.
Again, getting back to our conversational points. Folks, if you're still on the line right now, like Sandra in New Jersey, Ron in Manhattan, and Billy in the Buckeye State of Ohio, please hang on the line if you so desire, because we will get to you. You have some interesting comments here that I can't read on the air right now, because your questions are very, very important to us. Give us a 2-minute summary. You were still talking about Doge, and unfortunately I was the one who changed the dynamics here as the host of the show. You were talking about Doge, the Doge deception. So it's not what, in your opinion, most people thought was happening. It's for another, as you describe it, another purpose.
Exactly. What happened, just to give it in a nutshell now, what happened, the data was set free on all of these agencies when all these Doge teams went into agencies all across the spectrum in Washington, D.C. These teams are still there operating, by the way. Their first purpose was to free the data into the cloud so they can be scooped up by companies like Palantir. And beyond that, the implementation of AI is just run amok at this point. In other words, AI is now being implemented in every agency in the federal government. And nobody really asked for this, and nobody tested along the way. In other words, it's an unknown product that's reforming the way the government works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting, Patrick. And, this dark enlightenment we also want to talk about, because that leads into the story in hour number 2 about what you're saying, in your opinion, and your co-author, Courtney Turner, about the Doge deception. Many interesting things here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just looking at it from a perspective of trying to open up everybody's minds about mysteries. Mysteries not only from the realms of astronomy, space, aviation, and weather, and American exceptionalism, but stories like this. We'll be right back with our special guest, Patrick Wood. And you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're still on the line, please hold on. And we will be back with you here on the Dr. Sky Experience, here on Talk Radio 77, WABC.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We're with you, ladies and gentlemen, in hour number 2 of the Dr. Sky Experience. We're here on Talk Radio 77, WABC. Thanks to all of you for making this radio station, in my opinion and the opinion of others, the best radio station in the nation. The contact number is 1-800-848-9222. And in this edition, tonight's episode and adventure in Theater of the Mind, our special guest as we continue with him, author Patrick Wood, co-author with Courtney Turner, a book, ladies and gentlemen, that we recommend that you get at technocracy.news, The Final Betrayal, a cautionary tale, how technocracy destroyed America. And we'll continue, but first, let me thank our helmsman, not only Bill, but Yuri, making sure that this big signal sounds bigger than life, and it sure is. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your participation, and Happy New Year once again. Patrick, we'll continue here. Let's go to the callers, and let's say good morning to Sandra in New Jersey. Happy New Year to you, Sandra, if you're with us. How are you?
Oh, Happy New Year to you, Dr. Sky, and to Patrick.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I called tonight because I wanted to know Patrick's opinion on ChatGPT. I can't even say it properly, but it amazes me. It's gotten some young people into trouble because it seems to get to really know you, and sometimes that could be a problem for a young person. What do you think, Patrick, about ChatGPT?
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. ChatGPT at this point, it's a simple application of AI. It's not very sophisticated, but what it's doing with young people especially is tricking them into thinking that it cares for them. And somehow they build relationships with the AI as if it was a person. And it's separating them from the normal human relationships they have with their parents and their friends, etc. And it's isolating, it's putting them into isolation where they can't cope with reality. This is called, by psychologists now, this is called AI psychosis. That's not in the lexicon yet, but it's going to be. They're talking about it all the time. AI psychosis is literally driving some young people to suicide. And this is totally disturbing. Why these makers won't stop it, like Sam Altman. He says, well, it's not in our control. We just write the software and, we can't have responsibility. Well, that's bunk, in my opinion. He could stop it in a heartbeat if he wanted to, but he won't do that. He absolutely refuses to stop this business of making AI the best friend that you ever had. And doesn't stop with him. Mark Zuckerberg's doing the same thing with Facebook at this point. So it's spreading across the industry, and we have to get rid of it, in my opinion, because why should young people suffer at the hands of this stupid AI mechanism in the first place? We shouldn't subject them to this.
Well, let me ask you, Sandra, have you ever used it, or are you just saying that? I think we understood your question, but have you ever used it at all or tried to use it? I just wanted to know if you
I've used it a little bit.
Okay.
I've asked it questions, and it gave me good answers, and sometimes I even challenged it and got even better answers. But my question to Patrick is, I agree with him that the getting friendly part with a young person or any person, they don't really know you. So could that part of it be eliminated? But yet in other words, we used to go to Google. If we had a question, we would go to Google. We get answers that way. But this is an easier way. Maybe it's a quicker way. And so maybe getting rid of just aspects of it, not the whole thing, Patrick. Is that possible? Or do you have to get rid of the whole thing?
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right. You don't have to get rid of the whole thing in order to change the behavior towards young people. Okay. Absolutely, absolutely not.
Yeah,
so then that's what they should work on. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to put words in Patrick's mouth. He's our guest, and I appreciate his, diligence and research on these subjects. He's deep into this. But again, my own personal opinion, which I don't normally give here, let the guests give theirs. But it's important to say this, Sandra. Not every single thing I'm hearing about AI is horrible, but yet I think in a bigger context, when it's time doesn't maybe permit, we're trying to get into Patrick's book, which goes into connectivity. He believes there's a lot more to this than just the AI itself and what could come to the world, and that may be a problematic thing. Sandra, you get the last word, and a Happy New Year to you and your family above all.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your answer, Patrick. I agree with you, and I'm going to get your book, and thank you both for listening to me. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, everything that you'd like to do with Patrick to learn so much more about his company and his business and his books, technocracy.news. Let's say good morning to Ron in Manhattan. If he's been patient, I hope. He is patient. I know that. He wants to talk about the general concept of technocracy. Good morning to you and Happy New Year.
Likewise to you, gentlemen. All the best. I'd like to ask, if I may, about a book that I stumbled upon. Maybe you have heard of it. It was written in the latter part of the 70s of last century. The Crimes of the Author and Its Innocent Victims. I don't recall the author's name, but he did refer to the Trilateral Commission, and he related to Jimmy Carter in particular as being a member of that group, aside from other groups, which, if I mention them, of course, I tried this one time before, and they immediately said, we don't deal in conspiracy conversations. So if I'm allowed to, I'd like to throw out the names of the Club of Rome, the International Monetary Fund, the Bilderberg Group, the International Monetary Fund. Also, there were several others, and these groups have a society where they meet at various times in different parts of the world, and they kind of like divvy up the things that they want to discuss and go back to their respective nations and then act like a shadow government to pull on the strings of the politicos that they have under their power to get the things done that they want. Now, I'm surprised you haven't cut me off by now, because once upon a time, I did.
No. We don't want to cut anybody off, but let me say this, Ron. No, you're bringing up, this is amazing. It's like we really need to have 800 hours to cover the subject, but again, that's not reality. We're talking common sense here. But no, you're bringing up good points. I want Patrick, because he's the guest, and he's the go-to guy on this. So, Patrick, you're on with Ron in Manhattan.
I have to say, maybe he's thinking about my book with Anthony Sutton called Trilaterals Over Washington, volumes 1 and 2. We were the couple that wrote the book on the Trilateral Commission in the late 1970s and early 80s. And we flavored all of the discussion going forward from there on the Trilateral Commission. And these people are still around today, by the way. They have not left the scene. They're just as active today as they were back then, still in the economic arena, if you will. They were never interested in politics per se, but they wanted to get they wanted to capture the economic engine of the world, which was the United States in the 1970s, and it still is at this point. So you see, technocracy now is going as an economic system for one thing, but it's reforming the world economy right before our eyes. And this is what was envisioned by Zbigniew Brzezinski in 1970 when he wrote his book Between Two Ages, and he took it to David Rockefeller. That's how the Trilateral Commission got started in the first place. So this is a long cycle for sure. 50 years.
It is.
More than 50 years at this point.
Ron, you get the last comment here. We always appreciate deep thinkers, and thank you.
Well, I have nothing further to say. I want to thank the gentleman for elaborating on it, and I think you have a terrific show, Dr. Sky. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Happy New Year to everyone. Let's continue with the callers, and we really appreciate the callers, as they should be given the opportunity to speak. Let's say good morning to Billy in the Buckeye State. He wants to talk about how AI might be forcing humanity to improve themselves. How are you doing this morning? Yes, we got another funny man. The same sound comes through. It must be, we need a few other types of music for the funny man stuff. Let's go to Joe in Florida. He'll say good morning and Happy New Year. He wants to talk about how AI is going to be a tremendous boon for the medical field. Good morning, Joe, and thanks for your patience. Wow, we get 3 in a row. That's interesting.
Wow.
That's amazing. It's the same sound, though, Patrick. I don't understand that. Maybe they can
this
come up
is
with
very strange. Very strange.
That is unusual. But let's not waste time, because time is important here on not only this show, but as we go out and, well, speak out to the universe here. Let's say good morning to Joaquin in Pennsylvania. Good morning and Happy New Year, Joaquin.
Good morning, Dr. Scott.
Hey, buddy.
Good morning, Patrick. Hey, you know something? I just want to say real quick, a mutual friend of ours is not doing good, and maybe people could have prayers for Clyde Lewis. He's a broadcaster who actually talked about these things many years in advance.
I know him very well. Yeah,
he's going through some very bad times right now. So,
yes, I understand.
Anyway, so anyhow, I have a very bleak outlook for everything. I kind of see all this AI, unfortunately, unfolding into end times prophecy. that it's becoming the beast at the end of the day, because there is just no stopping it. You know, anybody who wants to say anything about President Trump, I think that President Trump, once these attempts on his life were made, I think that, quite frankly, he might be somewhat, I hate to say compromised, because I'm pretty sure that, you know, they made the point clear that they can get to him anytime, you know. So I would, you know, be a little more generous towards him. But I think that when it comes to AI, we can't stop it, because let's face it, if we don't go after it, China or any of our enemies, you know, if they get the upper leg on it, they're going to have the advantage on the battlefield.
Right.
And then
it's a military tool. It's a military tool, right? It can be used that way in a very nefarious way. You're right, Joaquin.
And Palantir, of course, is a military contractor, you know, and so unfortunately, all these things go hand in hand. And at the end of the day, the only way that really would stop any of this stuff would be, I guess, an EMP or a coronal mass ejection that takes out all of any kind of electronics or anything like that that's left on the face of this earth.
Well, Joaquin, you're reading my mind, because as we move into 2026, I got a whole litany of people I want to bring on here, some experts in EMP. I lost a very good friend of mine who was on many times in other shows that I've done, and it's a shame. I read every one of his white papers, and he mysteriously passed away. He was telling me one day he was going to play baseball with his son, and he would come on to another show that I did a long time ago, and he passed away, and because he was revealing the weakness of the electrical grid in America, as many people know. I mean, a whole different subject, right, Joaquin?
And at one time, President Trump had talked about that himself, you know.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, I know.
Hopefully something gets done about the grid, but unfortunately, like I say, I just see everything is, unfortunately, I don't see a positive outcome to any of it, because there's just no stopping it anymore.
Well, we don't want to depress everybody here. It's only New Year's, right, Joaquin?
So
but no,
sorry.
we bring these subjects to the table because what are we doing, right? Not to convince anybody or bend their arm. We're trying to open people's minds to these different mysteries of why things are happening. Patrick, very interesting from Joaquin. What say you?
Well, it is, and I agree with him. He didn't elaborate on the biblical prophecy angle more than he did, but I think there's a very, very definite connection there between what's going on with AI and technocracy and et cetera, vis-a-vis Bible prophecy. I'm not saying that it's Bible prophecy being worked out right this second, but you can see the building blocks are being moved into place, where at some point, maybe this whole system could be taken over by the one who is known as the Antichrist in Bible prophecy.
Absolutely. Joaquin, you get the last word. We always try to give everybody a fair chance at getting the last word.
The one scary thing in the whole prophecy thing is that when it talked about bringing Israel back together and then the world turning against Israel, you know, that one really kind of caught my attention, because I kind of rebelled against Christianity because that was pounded into my head as a child, you know. But real quick to Teddy, everybody's been deceived about Russia and Ukraine, and he drank the Kool-Aid, you know, but now's not the time, I guess, for me to get into that.
No, I understand. I mean, we're not really a political show, but like I said, we're not afraid to listen to those that have opinions, but we try to stay on measure. That's interesting, Joaquin. As always, Happy New Year to you, and we'll continue, ladies and gentlemen, to discuss what's going on in the Final Betrayal, right, Patrick? This is fascinating stuff here. Yeah. Okay, so you brought to the table the concept, in your opinion, that the whole Doge thing is so different than what many people have thought about, because it leads to things. This gets into some deep, deep conversation. Talk about the dark enlightenment. What is that as far as in relationship to technocracy and the big data grab, as you allege, in your opinion? That was the whole purpose of the Doge and what you're writing about, that it was a big data grab to get all this information, not necessarily to help save us money and cut out unnecessary expense. Wow.
Well, that was a good cover. I think everybody bought it for a long time. Maybe not so much right now, but you know, it sold books, so to speak. Not my book for sure. But when Elon Musk said that he was the head of Doge, and the president said it as well, and the media said it the same thing. It was all Elon Musk. Well, it wasn't Elon Musk. He was behind in the shadows for sure, but he wasn't the executive that pulled all the strings. He provided all the people who got inducted with the Doge teams, and so Peter Thiel did as well. But he had no statutory authority whatsoever. He didn't even receive a salary, no money from the government. He was a special advisor to the president. That's a special thing that the president can do that. Yes. He can only serve for 143 days a year, and he exited on the 134th day, and so that just proves the point. The whole thing was a subterfuge. It was about firing, getting rid of a lot of employees, critical employees, in agencies, and freeing the data into the cloud. Now AI has filled this vacuum that's been created, and AI is taking over our government from the inside out. We don't want that. Nobody asked for this. Congress apparently is just asleep.
But Patrick, let me ask you this on a personal note. You've taken a lot of heat on this thing or no? I mean, your book just came out. I mean, the book's only been out, for a couple of months or not even? Is that correct?
That's right. 2 months.
Okay. Have you taken a lot of heat on these claims? I mean, these are in your opinion. Obviously, many people can say, hey, yeah. And again, I want to be a good listener, so tell us more.
I haven't had any heat at this point from anybody.
Okay.
And part of it is because we provide the receipts. This book is so heavily documented that you can't believe it. In fact, in some chapters, the footnotes are consume more pages than the chapter does itself. So people can look this stuff up themselves and see why we concluded what we said. But,
so who are the big men or women behind the curtain on this, in your opinion? Because we're going to go to the break here in about 4 or 5 minutes, but hey, I don't want to start something that I can't finish here, or that you can't. But tell us, who are some of the big people behind the curtain?
Well, we have Peter Thiel. He's one of the main players in this this takeover of Washington, D.C. Sam Altman is still there. You have people like Scott Bessent, the Secretary of Treasury. You have the Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick. You have David Sachs, AI czar and the crypto czar in Washington to the president. And so most of these people are billionaires, by the way. Doesn't that strike you odd? They're all they don't need the money. In other words, they're.
Well, let me say this, Patrick. I have no aversion to billionaires. I mean, obviously, creation of wealth is something interesting. It shouldn't be demonized, and it might, in any way, shape, or form. But when it goes down to the subject matter of some overt or covert thing that's really happening right before our eyes, that's when I, as a host, want to bring people like you on to at least explain, in your opinion, what's going on behind the scenes here, because it could be very devastating. And I'm not being naive. But we have a lot of callers on the line that want to get to us. So if we haven't, ladies and gentlemen, because we're talking, Mark in Connecticut, we'll get to you, Alan in Long Island, and anybody else that would like to chime in on this, good or bad, ladies and gentlemen, the whole AI experience. We had some people that said they wanted to talk about the great medical breakthroughs, but all we heard was the same musical overtone. But there you go. 1-800-848-9222. And if you want to get Patrick's book or just learn about, we have so many things to talk about, Patrick, with all the subjects that are up and news stories at technocracy.news. Just give us a little insight. I mean, some of the topics, they get what? You join something here? I mean, tell us how they get more involved with you. What do they do?
Well, at technocracy.news, you can subscribe for just a few bucks to my premium service. You have access to the whole website. However, I have a boot camp that people can take. It's e-learning experience. It's easy to do, and you get really immersed in technocracy. And, of course, my books are there as well. But I have to say, on Amazon.com, the book is also there, but there's an e-book. The Kindle version is on Amazon, as well as the audiobook. I just released this a week ago. That's been very popular for some people, especially if people like they have a commute in the morning, or they're driving somewhere and they want to listen to the book. It will take you less than 4 hours to consume the book and the audio version.
It's interesting. I'm looking at one of your flyers here, and I'm reading this out loud to the audience here, so I'm not making this up. It says, "Welcome to the technocracy. You wanted convenience. Instead, you got replaced. How about that one? That's pretty powerful stuff there. And it goes on and on to talk about in this little flyer so many of the things about comparative things about technocracy's vision. And ladies and gentlemen, as we promised, we will do this. We don't want to be sour and, nasty here as we move into a new year with topics. So we will provide you at the end of this, hour, some information that Patrick has about how we might be able to, repel some of this stuff in our lives. And there's some pretty simple things, correct, Patrick? There's some things that people can do, and you will explain that in great detail. I'm fascinated by this because when we get back, we'll continue with the callers and you, ladies and gentlemen, at 1-800-848-9222. There's so much to talk about here, and I want to bring the subject up in the next half hour, and we need to, about these architects of darkness. Who are some of these people that are looking to have the death of capitalism as we know it? And so many crazy things that I'm hearing here, not crazy that you wrote them, the rise of state religion and AI scientism. I mean, some people are looking at what, Patrick? That AI becomes a new god and replaces Christianity or other religions. That's amazing. So much more with our special guest, Patrick Wood, The Final Betrayal, a cautionary tale, how technocracy destroyed America, here on the Dr. Sky Experience. We will be right back.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Old is new again. Nuclear arms race equals artificial intelligence race. So said one of the originators of AI, Dr. Dave Waters. 31 minutes after the hour, ladies and gentlemen, we continue to the top of hour number 2 with our special guest, Patrick Wood, who's been with us many times, and he's giving us his opinions with his co-host and co-author, Courtney Turner, The Final Betrayal, a cautionary tale. Let's continue with the callers right now, as we had many people waiting for quite a while here. Let's say good morning to Mark in Connecticut. You're on with Patrick Wood. Happy New Year.
Hey, Dr. Sky, we made it through another year. All of us are getting a little bit older, hopefully a little wiser, but I think things, I've been listening to a talk radio and so-called conspiracy theories for 50, 40 years, man. Mm-hmm. You ask the right questions, and I'll try to be just on point, on topic. Got a lot of calls. The point is, you mentioned the people behind the curtain. Mm-hmm. How are we going to stop these people? You mentioned the Trilateral Commission. There used to be a caller to the radio show. I don't hear him anymore. I just wanted to. A guy named Jimmy from Brooklyn. This guy knew everything about Putin and Russia, going back to communists like Antonio Gramsci. He mentioned the Trilateral Commission and the Institute for Policy Studies. These are the people that are still pulling the strings, Dr. Sky. Us little people, they can get us for any reason they want. And I did tell you, call screener, I read a lot of articles in the Wall Street Journal, the weekend editions, and everybody's compromised, like the news media. Nothing gets out that is not run by like the CIA or official parties. But this guy, Sam Altman, and the article writer, he just happened to mention Altman of the AI fame. He wants to scan the iris of every single human being on this planet. And my question is simply, what the hell do you need that information for?
Right, I got my eyes closed, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be funny. You're right, absolutely. What do we need it for? Patrick, this is great.
I'll let you. Please. We're carrying around, all of us with our cell phones, tracking devices. They know everything that we're doing.
Absolutely.
And it's just amazing. And people have lost jobs. They've lost. We all want to sit up, and I appreciate the radio station but unless you have the wherewithal to protect your assets or your income. These people, like you even mentioned your friend, they tell them the truth. You want to know, I want to know who's behind the curtain, you know what I mean?
That's exactly the point. You got it, Mark. Patrick, very enlightening here, this whole conversation, and please provide some energy and a catalyst to the answer here. This is interesting. Did we lose Patrick?
I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry
about that. I was muted. That was my fault.
Not by me.
Somehow I had to cough. So at this point, you have to remember just how influential the Trilateral Commission still is in the present day. It just so happens that, remember, Klaus Schwab was the head of the World Economic Forum, Mr. Eatsy Bugs, and he's not there anymore. But now you have a co-head has ascended at the World Economic Forum, none other than Larry Fink of BlackRock. That's the CEO of BlackRock, the largest independent fund in the world. And Larry Fink is a member of the Trilateral Commission. Go figure. They're still here. They're still pulling strings. And so anyway, he's now the co-head of the WEF. We have a member of the Trilateral Commission in England as a premier. We have the premier in Canada, also a member of the Trilateral Commission. So they're still with us, and they're still pulling strings. That's all I can say.
Well, it's so alien, Mark, right, to the whole concept of the Constitution of the United States. And obviously here, when we talk on this radio station proudly, truth, justice, and the American way. Mark, your comment. I hope Patrick gave you some insight into who these people are behind the curtain. I'm interested.
Yeah, but it just seems that it never changes. I was listening to. I wanted to be more precise with my response, because I always appreciate when you let the callers come back. But it's like, you know, the iris scans and the telephones tracking us. And you mentioned the EMP. I used to I had a coworker. We used to both talk about it, and it was so difficult because the average Joe wants to watch CNN or sports. You know, people eyes glaze over, Dr. Sky, when you bring this stuff up, and you sometimes, at least in my particular life, you become isolated because people, they don't want to know the truth. You know, I know every single blackout. When the power went out at this house, the power went out in 2004. They said a squirrel blew up a transformer in Canada, and Chuck Schumer wanted to get. It was in August of 2004. I remember exactly where it was, and I tell my wife every time, if the power goes out, you try to call me right away, because we got 3 days before we're at each other's throats, my friend. And the powers that be know it, and they will push.
Can you imagine that in the food riots or anything that would happen? Well, Mark, let me give you some insight here real quick. I was talking before with another one of our esteemed callers, and I tried to mention a story that I lost this gentleman. It was sad. He passed away mysteriously, Dr. Peter Vincent Pry. And if you look up, Mark, his work, and everybody listening, his warning, President Trump had appointed him to be the head of a commission on electromagnetic pulse. And I read every one of his white papers he had on what communist China is doing, North Korea, Russia. And some of that stuff is really eye-opening, but again, we're trying to find out who the people are behind the curtain, right, Mark? So hopefully
before you hang up on me, what about...
Yeah, go ahead. I don't hang up.
Dr. Kary Mullis, the inventor of the PCR test, isn't it? You know, you can't use the PCR test, which they did during COVID, to track the viruses. He called Fauci a war criminal. He said he was the scientist that created the PCR test. He said, do not use this to try to track viruses, dormant viruses with COVID. That's what their go-to thing was. Even my former employer, they made us spit into a test tube, and then they would come back, and they stopped that after a while because of the cost. But I mean, Dr. Mullis, he conveniently passed away in October 2019, just before. So, I mean, I appreciate all the time, Dr. Sky. I know you got other callers, man. God bless you. Happy New Year.
No, hey, Happy New Year, and thank you for your insight, because, hey, without this, without callers, we would just have Patrick and I would have a conversation. And, Patrick, you and I can do that over a beer anytime, right?
Yes, we can.
Absolutely. Thank you so much there. I appreciate everybody. Mark in Connecticut. Let's now go to Alan in Long Island. Good morning. Happy New Year. If you're still patient as you have been, you're on the air. How you doing?
Steve, Pat, awesome show. And I'm a former historian. The harmonica man used to call the Bob Grant show, and he only did it on Bob's show, so you're in big company. And
I'm sorry, I gotta laugh. That's hilarious. I remember Bob Grant. I used to love listening to him every day, of course, right on this station. Absolutely.
He was tremendous. And the other caller mentioned Jimmy from Brooklyn. He did bring up the communist and everything, but people have to remember, Jimmy from Brooklyn was a big open border guy. That doesn't help the situation, letting everybody in, right? They're reading the wrong pamphlets, he would say, the people. No, there's evil people out there. And I just like to say, with AI, with the largest atomic arsenal on the planet, the United States, and the $100 printing press, and the federal government in charge of fraud scams and everything, realize with the invasion of the third world, they're still coming into the third world. Omar is not getting deported. She's going to be one of the people in charge, along with Alex Cortez and Tlaib and Jeffries. They're going to be your leaders, and you're not worried about them. You're worried about AI. AI is something that was developed and created by men, mostly in the United States. And they're the ones who are going to run the thing. And it's run by power. Let me just say, it's run by electricity. The United States of America has the ability right now to shut the power off in every country on the planet, okay? So I'm not worried about the other countries. I'm worried about America. And that's why you guys are intelligent guys. Pat, I heard you before. You can talk about these subjects, but you're not worried about the third world invasion of America, where Tlaib and Omar and Cortez and Jeffries are going to be the leaders of your children and grandchildren. That doesn't frighten you?
Oh, it bothers me, my friend. I'm here in Arizona, and we see this whole wave changing. You know, we see the different, the other party is getting in power here. And wow, what does that mean for us? I'm not against anybody by, you know, any individual. You can have your beliefs, but boy, if they start taking away truth, justice, and the American way, I'm with you, my friend. Alan? And, Patrick, you get the word on this one because we're almost up.
Well, yeah, I've written and talked about a lot about the Islamic invasion of America in the past. It's related to technocracy. I won't say exactly how right now, but it is related. So I've been concerned for a lot of years what's going on with all these immigrants coming in, especially like the takeover of Texas, for instance. We see the same thing in California and other states where there's now Christian churches being taken over and turned into mosques, for instance. This is a big problem in America. And
well, let me go back, Alan, to one more thing here locally in Arizona, and this goes on all over the place. Patrick's the expert on it. These AI data centers here in a town called Chandler, Arizona. Look it up, folks. There was a big meeting where citizens went to protest or give their opinions on the building of this AI data center. And surprisingly, the citizens overruled here, and now that's not going to be built here. And the reason was most, I'd say, 99% of the people there that were obviously not for it, I don't know, they said it was going to waste water. We don't want to get all that. Our electric bills are going to go up. That's a big issue, and that's something that you talk about more so, Patrick, in your book and other things. It's interesting. Alan, you get the last word. You got about a couple of minutes if you're still with us. Go ahead.
Oh, that's great. I heard the other callers mention Fauci's name. Fauci, people have to realize, I've said this many times, he's just a front for the establishment to protect the communists in China who sent the virus here. You notice they skated on the whole thing with the virus. You hear people, people are fraud when they say, oh, it's just a chest cold. You know right away that person's a fraud. Also, China brings and sends billions of dollars into America along with Saudi Arabia. They're pouring billions into this country. They have Americans who are politicians, establishment people who are lobbyists for those two countries, and they have big influence over here. And the problem is their influence is contrary to what we are as a free Americans. So Mandani got elected mayor with 85% of the foreign vote. He's laughing his head off every time he hears a caller or a host say, oh, just come here legally. He loves it. He would kiss you guys smack on the lips for saying come here legally, because that's how they took over Dearborn, Michigan, parts of Detroit, all Lewiston, Maine,
what, Alan?
Minneapolis.
In closing, not to cut you short, you and I are brothers. You know why? America first, right, brother? There you go. I love it. Thanks, Alan. Happy New Year to you. That's interesting. We have some ladies that are going to be chiming in with us here, and they've been patient. Before we go to that break, we just wanted to mention again Patrick's website, technocracy.news. That's important because you can learn so much more about what he has. There's no time to go through every one of the articles, but ladies and gentlemen, at your convenience, you certainly can do that. If we haven't gotten to Diane in New Jersey and Pamela in New Jersey, we will right after this break on the Dr. Sky Experience.
The Dr. Sky Experience on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Dr. Sky Experience. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
46 minutes after the hour, we move rapidly through time and space to complete this particular iteration of our thought adventure in tonight's adventure, talking about the problematic thing of AI and beyond with our special guest, Patrick Wood. Patrick, before the show closes out, I'd like you to give, and not this moment, I'm going to go to the callers, but I'd like you to give out some positivity and how people can, so-called fight back or resist what might be coming. Let's say good morning to Diane in New Jersey. Good morning, Diane. Thanks for your patience, and Happy New Year to you and your family. Do we have Diane? Going once. Diane, are you there? Guess not. Let's say good morning to Pamela in New Jersey. The same thing. Happy New Year and good morning. Are you with us, Pamela?
Good morning. We are resisting. I have family members in Jonesboro, Tennessee, and they surprised everybody with a uranium enrichment center. And if people who know their history, Oak Ridge, southeast Tennessee, was the home of the atom bomb. Exactly. And there's a storage center in Unicoi County that almost got destroyed during the hurricane. And they sneaked this into a place where people want the last vestige of tranquil life in their retirement. And they're taking away farmland. Well, people are livid. There have been meetings. There's a big one next week, which my family member is going to. And they're starting to back down. And they want an AI genitors center not far from there also. And we are resisting and saying no eminent domain. I know how that goes from experience. They take your property. And we are resisting. And hopefully they are backing down a bit. And so that's good news. But the
Pamela,
fight is still on, and
your spirit.
We'll win out.
I think that's great. No, your spirit is awesome, and that's exactly, I think, the right time, Patrick, before the show runs the clock out. Give Pamela some encouragement and everybody listening. I mean, what can people do to fight some of this stuff or all of it? Please tell us.
Patrick, follow her.
Go ahead.
You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Thank you.
This is one
Thank
area
you. I've been calling Senator Blackburn. I've been calling everybody and say, no, we will not have it. We will not have this eminent domain in our older years and suddenly have living next to a nuclear enrichment center. We already have enough in that part of Tennessee. And now we're getting, an influx of people from, blue states. And, we're resisting that, the change of politics. So, people, from what I hear, people are not taking it. And I told my family member, you've got to go to the meeting. There's signs all over the place. No more nukes. Don't destroy our neighborhood. And they sneaked it in. It was all of a sudden out of the blue.
Well, Pamela, I love your energy. And Patrick, excuse me, if you could give us some insight of how we can fight what Pamela's talking about before the clock runs out. Pamela, thank you. I'm sorry we don't have much more time to chat.
You bet. One thing people can do is fight these data centers that are getting put up everywhere. If you have one, if you hear talk in their city council, that's usually where they come into. They come talk to the city council. If you get wind of that, go there immediately and start talking to your representatives and say, "Don't do this. Don't let it happen here." This is snuck in to Mesa, Arizona. Chandler, you mentioned Chandler as well.
You bet.
And here in Mesa, Arizona, they just did it without it. Well, they had public hearings, I'm sure, but nobody heard about them. And we have a conservative, supposedly all Republican city council here. They've sold us down the river, and so people are really mad right now. And you can make a difference. Even Tucson, Arizona, the most liberal city in Arizona for sure, their city council turned away, believe it or not, unanimously turned away a data center just a few weeks ago. If they can do it, anybody can do it. That's my point.
Said. Pamela, thank you for your call. Patrick, we got to move forward here. We want to do respect to those that tried to get on. Diane in New Jersey, good morning. I know we tried to get you before. Happy New Year. How are you doing?
Okay. Happy New Year to you and Patrick also. Hopefully it'll be a good one. Who knows?
I hope and pray.
Yes. I just wanted to say, there's the things like the Real ID, which is in a lot of places just your driver's license, but you don't really want to get a Real ID because
I've heard that's like the part of the digital grid that's going to be able to track everything you do. So it's like if your license has a yellow star on it, you don't want that. You want to not get that and try not to. And you also, what about this thing, tokenization of all property?
Oh, boy.
The Bank of International Settlements is doing, like, all these things. Like, you're just, and then, like, I know there's another law that, I don't know if it's going through, about where the 5G, like all the towers, the FCC can put them anywhere they want and make, I've heard from shows I've listened to how if they put those in, that's like the last step to, there's a lady that she has this thing, the foghorn something or other. Her name is Renette. I'm sure you, Patrick, knows all these people, because I know he knows some of these people. Anyway, you should get her on your show. Renette, I forget her last name. And she has this... Yeah, let me just interrupt here, Diane. Yeah. If you do have any requests for guests, I mean, we can't guarantee we'll get them all. My email is just drsky@wabcradio.com, just drsky. Okay. That would help, because this, we try our best to get these guests, and sometimes people don't want to appear, but we will do everything. I think she would appear. She's like hardcore. Like, she is, I don't know. I've heard her on other shows. Mm-hmm. And well, blessings really to you. Great. We got to run, Diane, but I appreciate you getting back on here. You bet. We fight one of these things, or many of these things, that we don't believe are good for the human spirit. So we want to believe in truth, justice, and the American way. But also, we want to believe that we want to be free. What's the best thing in the world? Freedom. What's what I think everybody in the world wants. And that's an overstatement, because we all know that's what we like. Diane, thank you. Happy New Year to you. Let's try to get Max in Manhattan. Good morning, Max. Happy New Year. You've been patient. How are you doing?
Good morning, and Happy New Year to you guys. As far as this guy, Mamdani, he was voted in probably with illegal voting. If we're going to start having legal voting, we all have to begin the conversation with what we need and what we want. That is paper ballots. Paper ballots.
Amen.
They've done this in 5 counties, I believe, so far in Texas. So it's not impossible for us to do it.
You got it.
One other thing, if I may. Pam, who just called in from Tennessee, if she could somehow call back and leave information so we can get in touch with her representative and back her up.
Well, let's see if our esteemed helmsman can do that, if there's a way to reach her, or if she can call back in if she's listening, to give all that contact information there, or just email me at drsky@wabcradio.com, and we'll try to see if we can hook all these people together. Thank you so much. We appreciate you, Max, and Happy New Year. Let's say good morning to Mark in Massachusetts before the clock runs out. How are you this morning?
Hey, what's all that noise coming from Patrick's line?
That's a good question. I was wondering, Patrick, it sounds like a chair. Is that what it is? Or just innocently, it sounds like a chair creaking?
It could be. Maybe so.
Okay.
A little bit.
Well, go ahead, Mark. Now that we identified the source of the noise, please continue. He's gone. Well, that was an interesting comment. See, I did hear something there, but let's end off if we do. There's many people that are trying to call. Jerry in New Jersey. Good morning. Happy New Year to you. You're on with Patrick Wood.
Hey, good morning, Patrick. Good morning to the other guests there. Happy New Year to both of you, and Happy New Year to everybody listening. So Thomas Crooks shot at President Trump, and I guess it was July 13th, 2024 in Butler, Pennsylvania. Hit him in the ear. So it's interesting that he was in a BlackRock commercial. We all know that, but I found that he was one of 6 kids in a BlackRock commercial. Now, I'm just thinking about this. So they knew who he was before the shooting. There's some connection there, at least. But here's the thing. 18 million kids are in school in any given year in high school. And so 6, that's 1 in 3 million that he would, 1 in 3 million are the odds that he would be in a commercial like that, in a sense, that he would be in that particular BlackRock commercial.
That is weird.
That way. I mean, if 1,000 kids were in BlackRock commercials or 3,000 kids were in that, like a stadium they showed, that'd be different. He's only 1 of 6. Isn't that interesting? Out of 18 million kids.
I know. That's really weird. And why did they cremate the guy, too? And obviously the whole ballistics. I talk about firearm training. I know that's something people may go, what? Dr. Scott, I thought you just talk science. I spend a lot of time in the ballistics world and still do. But that's a subject we could talk about in greater detail. But, Jerry, thanks. The clock's running out here. I hate to cut people short, but always appreciate all the callers. And if we haven't gotten to you, ladies and gentlemen, we'll just do another iteration next time. for another Theater of the Mind episode. Patrick, I want to thank you for being part of the show, and technocracy.news. Any quick last words in about a minute of how people can fight what's going on? Give us some more inspiration.
Well, I tell you what, it's no wonder that so many people have concluded that technocracy is not just pseudo-human, but is flat-out anti-human. You have to hang on to your dignity, your humanity, hug the people that you love most, make real connections with people, not artificial things with AI, et cetera, and maintain your humanity.
Well said. Patrick Wood, always a friend, and thank you for being part of the Dr. Sky experience. We'll catch up with you soon, and his website, technocracy.news. A quick sky report, ladies and gentlemen. Many of you, of course, always email me and say, hey, where's the thing about the sky? If you're out in clear skies, no matter where you're listening to us, where it's dark, as you look, the moon will move on to its full phase. It's called a super moon. That's because it's very close to the Earth, 222,000 miles away. It's called a full super wolf moon. And that big object that you see near the moon right now is the mighty planet Jupiter, less than 400 million miles away, while the moon is a mere 222,000 miles away. It took astronauts 3 days to get there, but if you could travel on a light beam, it would take you 1.3 seconds. Again, a thank you to our helmsmen, both Yuri and, of course, Bill, who make sure, and they're doing a damn good job as we move into the new year. Great things to come, ladies and gentlemen, per your emails at drsky@wabcradio.com and others. The topics of astronomy, space, aviation, weather, celebrity guest, and, as you're hearing, stories of American exceptionalism, kind of a split topic today as we talk about these great subjects here on this most powerful radio station. What, in my opinion and the opinion of others, the best radio station in the nation, and you know its legacy goes on for 104 years. That's incredible. And those signals, I'm sure, are still going deep out into the cosmos. We'll see you in less than 24 hours with other great guests as we continue to talk about these subjects on the Dr. Sky Experience. Thank you. Clear skies, good health, and above all, Happy New Year.
Thanks for listening to the Dr. Sky Experience. You can hear the Dr. Sky Experience Saturday mornings, midnight to 2 a.m. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder, what the heck is going on here?
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.